Good morning or good afternoon. It's only 11. Still in the morning here on the West Coast. What is going on, everybody? I see what's going on, David, Julie. Thank you guys for showing up. Kick this off. Welcome to Dungeoneers Pack Live. My name is Josh. Thank you guys for tuning in. Dungeoneers Pack Live is a weekly live stream where I recap the latest news in D&D and discuss topics to provide insight or solutions for problems you may have at your table. D&D news is very, very slow, so we're going to actually skip that this week. So this show might be just a little bit short. Uh, Pretty much all the promotion has been pretty cut down. There's been a few Kickstarters that have been recurring over the last couple weeks, but they're still in a full gear, so there isn't too much going on. So yeah, there's. I think in a couple weeks we're gonna be actually in 2 weeks as of today. We will be getting the first of 3 books, which will be Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Which will take us into the Feywild, going into one of the domains of the light, adventuring into a carnival. My music loud. Oh, okay, it's just loud for me. All right, cool. Yeah. So yeah, but that's pretty much what we got coming up, and then after that we got Fizzban's Treasury of Dragons, and then we have Strixhaven Curriculum of Chaos. So 3 books, and then most likely after that we'll get a book announcement, or at least a teaser, maybe a UA or something along the way. All right, yeah. So we're gonna just jump into the question of the week. If you guys, this week we're gonna be covering and talking about character backstories. Originally, I said character backgrounds, but then I realized people are probably gonna think I'm talking about actual backgrounds in the player's handbook, and I'm really wanted to get into your backstory. They're interchangeable, but in the D&D context, backgrounds really refers to an aspect you can. I want to talk about backstories as a whole. We're going to be talking about tips for that. And if you have any questions regarding the topic, just go ahead and drop them in the chat. I will answer them as we go along. So I'm going to jump right into the question of the week, where I think this is where some of the confusion came about. Up for you guys. And go. Question of the week. All right, question of the week was, what do you think makes a great character background? What I really meant was, what do you think makes a great character's backstory? So, Igvital, thank you for dropping an answer for this one. He immediately answered first regarding character backgrounds. So, he said, coolness and utility. Some backgrounds of the game are 100% useful. They give you skills or features you will never use or are not cool enough. Personally, I would change backgrounds to be like aspects in Fate RPG. Aspects are phrases that represent something important about your character, useful as certain bonuses, but also give you some troubles. An example is born in the battlefield could give you some bonuses to make strategies to train an army to fight, or etc. because you were born in the battlefield. But it gives you some trouble when you try to write poetry, research about magic, dancing at a royal ball, etc. So make your character very specific. It's an interesting thing. It's something I've seen in other role playing games. Pretty much the way these other systems do it, it's to give you much more freedom and leeway to create your character's backstory and pretty much come up with whatever you want. So they'll have a few keyword tags which will be connected to certain mechanics, but connecting those together will give you stats and pretty much have way more freedom than what you're given in 5th edition. And then I followed up just to make sure, because I was trying to get into the nitty gritty of what makes a good character backstory. And then he said, a good backstory gives a character more layers, gives the DM story hooks to make great campaigns and adventures. A good backstory is also both original and opens new stuff for the character. Another example, he says a double cross, like in X-Men, or like in the movies like Men in Black, or one of the characters feels guilty because he discovers that in his first mission, he accidentally kills his wife. And when his powers wake, he felt guilty, so that he prefers to suffer heavy damage in order to protect his allies no matter what. In reality, a criminal tries to steal his powers and his wife was caught in the crossfire. Okay. So something like a tragic backstory. And then he goes in a little, follows back up with something else. Also says, the character must have quirks, fears, things that he likes, hates, fears, and objectives. Bring that into the roleplay. You can have a 100-page backstory, but if you never RP, it doesn't matter. So yeah, so he brings up some good points. Brings up some stuff I slightly disagree with, and I'll go into that in just a second. Um, I'm trying to find it exactly. Okay, so when the big thing he said, the backstory needs to be original. Not necessarily. I will say backstory doesn't necessarily need to be original. You can rely on tropes. It's tropes are there for a reason. They're tried and true. They may be seem as boring or kind of reused a lot, but they work for a reason. And as long as you, unless you're like trying to stream or create something original to put out as a product or something, using a trope as a base for your own character helps. So it doesn't necessarily need to be original or like unique. It use a trope as a basis. And I'll go into more detail when I get to tips in just a second. But I do agree with him when he says that your character needs to have quirks, fears, um, which are pretty much what it means to be what they have in the character backgrounds, your ideals, your bonds, your flaws, having those to make your character feel more realistic and more well-rounded. But I'll also role playing those. So again, thank you for submitting your answers. Um, yeah, and if you want to see your answers on the stream, check out the community page and on the Discord. Every week, I post up a question of the week where you can provide your answer, and I'll post it here on the channel. And I normally get those up every. So again, thank you. Thank you for that. If you want to drop them in the Discord link should be in the description below, and then on the YouTube page, it should just youtube.com/pack and just hit community. The post will be there. All right, so we're gonna get into nitty gritty. Let's jump right into the topic. So we're gonna be talking about character backstories. What I'm trying backgrounds. So, biggest thing, why do we care about having a character backstory? Mainly, the big thing about this is this. What I mean referring to why you want a character backstory. This is mainly for longer campaigns. If you're playing at a one shot, your backstory necessarily doesn't matter. When you're normally one shots, unless it's going to be this one big game where your DM wants you to have some semblance of a backstory that he's going to little bits and pieces into the shot. Most of the time, a one shot is just you're playing a set of mechanics with a thin veil of roleplay character on. How it is, it's more game than it is roleplay at certain points. Not necessarily always true. I know there's those that in the streaming community, when they do one shots and stuff, they do try to introduce well-rounded characters and put them in, but they're only going to be there for, or they'll bring in a character and reuse it for a variety of one shots. But regardless of the exceptions, when I talking about this, it's in the mindset and the frame of long campaigns. So why do we want a character backstory? Why does a character backstory matter? It helps one give your DM why it helps the DM create a personalized story and gaming experience. That's one of the big things. I'm big on it. I know in my play group, I asked them to write some semblance of a backstory. So, and then the one thing is, so I can, I'm playing a set into Avernus pre-written campaign. Normally anything that's pre-written, it's just get to point A, go through the alphabet and hit Z. That's normally just how they're all built, but there's enough leeway to make the game an experience that is tuned to character, the players. It's not necessarily actually in Avernus itself, it doesn't specifically say to do this, but for me and the type of games that I like to run and the games I like to play in, I like it when it's a personalized experience where they do draw upon a bit of the character's backstory to make the game feel more personal, and make our character feel like they're part of that world and they're just not in an amusement park type roller coaster ride. They're just stuck on the track and they're just kind of going from A to B and can't interact with it. All right, so that's why it's just the reason you want a backstory is just so that the game can make the game for you. Also, on the player side of things, having a good backstory or having a backstory helps you understand your character. A a lot of people, when they don't generate a backstory, what they do is they just kind of go on the edge of the seat, or they play a character that is not necessary, that doesn't have a character, doesn't have a set of goals, doesn't really have an identity. They it's either the character ends up becoming a little bit of a self insert, where they're just playing themselves in the skin of a character, or they are um just playing, they're just reacting to situations and not necessarily playing the character itself. So having a decent, somewhat of a structured backstory will help you get into your character and get to know them more, even if it's an aspect of yourself or it's something thing or some sort of person that's totally opposite of who. It's mainly to help you roleplay. And again, the big thing of why do we want to create a backstory? It immerses the player and their character into the world. So, in a combination of the first two reasons, really just helps you get sucked into the game. It's all immersion. So tips. There's three big tips that I came upon for myself that I follow. One, give your DM tips for making a well-rounded backstory. It's not necessarily always going to be the greatest. I'm pretty sure there's other tips out there, especially if you're going to get more into the writing side of stuff. But this is just general tips just to help players. You don't have to be a great novelist. Be act like you're playing on Critical Role or anything. This is just for you and your home game. That'll help you. So, give your DM hooks. Give them toys. Give them stuff to play with. I know people get afraid of like saying like your character has family members or something, and the DM is gonna use them to off them or raise the stakes. But you need to give your DM hooks so that they know what themes and elements you as a player want to interact with and play with in that role, in that setting. So what kind of hooks could you give your DM? Just overall overarching thematic, just themes that your character interacts with. Tragedy, death, or they're struggling with identity. Some of the more heavy stuff is mainly like when it comes to themes, overcoming death, overcoming their fear of something, revenge, trying to find the line between good and evil. There's major themes. Other stuff that you could throw at your DM, what a major event caused them to become an adventurer. What's the driving force that got them to the point where you start at your campaign? That's what major event. Do they have family? Again, I brought up that if they do have family, what, who are they? Are they an orphan? Nothing against the orphan trope. It's there for a reason, and there's a reason why there's a ton of players that pick up on it, because they don't want the DM to mess with stuff, and that's session zero stuff that you can talk your character as a family, and what's that like, and we'll talk with your DM whether you want that to be included or not. And if you don't, then you don't need to actually include them in your backstory either. Again, also what kind of tragedies that goes along with what kind of major events. Does your character have a rival or a villain? Was there something in your character's backstory that eventually caused them to become an adventurer that was due to a rival? The rival doesn't necessarily need to be a bad guy. They're just a rival, or there is a villain. One of the good backgrounds that you can choose is folk hero, and it's ingrained into that backstory that one of the options for your driving force of your ideals is a villain, somebody that is going after your character. So yeah, so those are just some basic hooks. There's a lot more that you can just include, and you just don't have to include one. If you have multiple, and if you tie them all together into something streamlined, that gives your DM more than enough tools to just throw at you. If you're one of the players that are just kind of along for the ride, that's perfectly fine too. And it might not be the kind of experience you're wanting, but I find it, for myself and for players that tend to want to just be more on the gaming side, if they have some level of backstory, and they include some of these themes, some of these events, some of these items, they get more sucked into the game. My brother, for an example, is mainly he likes the gaming side of stuff, but he had a really solid backstory for our Avernus game, and he's completely sucked. he's like he just likes to roleplay his character. There's a lot of stuff that his character's trying to reach at and go after now. I'm trying to work on that for my cousin who is also playing a barbarian who's more on the gaming side. Hey Jackie, thank you for coming in. Yeah, so one, give your DM hooks. It helps out so much. It makes it so much easier for them to make the gaming experience for you. Next tip: size doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how big or how short your backstory is. I personally do not write, or honestly don't like to read long 10-pager backstories. I personally just write it as a highlighted brief. Um, this is your life highlight reel of like these are the major events, these are the themes, these are the things that happen in his life, and this is where he's at now. I got to the point. What's going on, Adrian? Hey guys for stopping in. So yeah, but obviously there's some people that really get into the character backstory and write these 10-page essay term papers, research papers on the character, and that's perfectly fine too. Do what's best and comfortable for you as a player and your table. But yeah, the size of your backstory doesn't matter. Is it coherent? That's really all that matters. Does it give the DM enough hooks? Does it give you and the DM an idea of what your character is and what they can use to play with and use for campaign? Yeah, that one's very straightforward. Size does not matter. And make the last tip is make your backstory appropriate for the campaign and the tier of play. So there is 4 tiers of play. 4 tiers of play. One is from levels 1 to 4. This is your newbie adventurers. Your characters are no name nobodies. Part of the problem that a lot of people, when they do create these very elaborate backstories, their characters are already the cool guy, the badass, the super assassin, and thing is, when you're playing from level 1 to 4, you're starting out. Your characters know nobody. They have no connections. They only know the people that are in the party, and then it's when they get beyond that, that's when they become something more. So if you're going to be creating a backstory for that level range, understand that like your character is not necessarily powerless. They just don't have influence. They haven't earned the influence. They haven't done a great deed that has gotten them recognition with some important players yet. But then once you hit levels 5 to 10, you're known within a town or in a small region. Your character has accomplished something. So if you're making a backstory and you're playing a game that's going to start from 10 to 5 to 10, excuse me. Talk with your DM and discuss like, well, they might be known in this area because they accomplished it. It works really well with certain backgrounds if you're going to include those. You're going to really tie them into your character, especially like a folk hero. But other than that, yeah, that's once you start getting some sort of level of influence. Levels 11 to 17, you're known either on a kingdom level, a nation level, or around the world because you've done a super great deed, like slayed a dragon that would have destroyed a kingdom, and it's out across the world. You've killed an evil wizard that was threatening to overthrow a nation. Something. You're getting known on a bigger, grander scale if you're starting your campaign in that range. Maybe you're a former adventurer that is now coming out of retirement, and that's why your level's much higher level. And again, 18 to 20, you're known to gods at this point. You're a threat to everybody. So again, if you're making a backstory for like a super high level campaign, consider that what accomplishes and what achievement. Just make it appropriate for the tier play. What Adrian said, narrowing it down for the DM is probably one of the hardest things for backstories. I think people that are really creative and like to get into lore and like to just create characters in general and generate their backstories, I think that's hard for a lot of us, trying to narrow down what exactly we're wanting to play. Pretty much that's what kind of character we play. What I mean by saying a backstory should be appropriate for the campaign, here's one example. One example of a bad example. You're a player that's going to play in a giant campaign, but you're bringing in a character that is specifically their backstory is tied to slaying demons. That's not something you want to do. If you want instead that character that's a demon slayer, change them to a giant slayer. Make them tied to the campaign because one, it's easier on you to roleplay that out. it makes sure that your character isn't deviating and may take the game in a different direction that's away from the main thing. Um, uh, and this is really important for like if you guys are playing modules. Obviously, like you're playing Storm King's Thunder, you're going to be fighting giants the whole time, maybe some dragons. Or if you're playing Horde of the Dragon Queen, obviously you want to I play somebody that wants to go kill dragons. Avernus, you want somebody to Avernus, you want to play somebody that's going to go kill devils, and so it's one of those things that to consider tie your character's backstory into that somehow. And then so that it's appropriate for the campaign, especially if they're pre-written. If you're playing in a homebrew setting, talk with the DM and figure out what sort of major overarching story that they're wanting to do that you can tie your character into that. And if they're just saying go nuts, go free reign, then you're good to go. But if you're playing mainly this last little bit of a tip is concerns more to do if you're playing in pre-written adventures. All right, that's pretty much for tips. Just 3 basic tips that'll get you going, get you safe. I'm pretty sure there's way more elaborate tips, especially like on how or write the actual backstory. We're getting more into writing, and I'm not an expert like writer. Hard. What tools though? What tools do you have access as people that don't necessarily write all the time or not not authors? What can we use? Big thing is tropes. Do not shy away from them. They're there for a reason. Even if it's I'm an orphan hero, I have no family, I grew up in an orphanage. Yeah, boring. Tropes are perfectly fine. They're tried and true. I think in amongst the community that people tend to D&D community is very creative, and so there's a ton of pressure for players to just say create something original, create something. There's no original idea at all anymore. Everybody's done it. Tropes are there for a reason. The people understand them. They're easier to grasp. So as a player, I say don't shy away from them. Utilize them to an extent, and then you put your own twist on it. David said, easiest way to construct a character is to think of a character from a movie that is relative to the setting campaign you are in and go from there and make it on your own. Yeah, that's another good tool. Goes along with tropes. Take inspiration from movies, any sort of pop culture, any book, any comic book. If you find a way to play Spider-Man into your D&D campaign and it just fits, go for it. Find something you're familiar with, you're comfortable with, and that's going to be a good fit for your party, and have at it. Julie is in the chat. Her and Eric on Fry Minis, she did a really great video on how she goes and develops characters. I actually recommend go checking that out because that hits on a lot of what you just said. Goes it uses one of the things she uses is characters from TV shows to help influence and build your character in a perfectly cool and fun way to actually bring in a character for you. Tropes, use them. Fine. Somebody gets mad at you, oh well, your fun is not wrong. One thing I like, setting lore. This is more of a personal tool that I'm advising. Get into the setting. Either find out if you want to play a certain class, you're looking at it from a mechanical perspective. You want to play a certain class or a certain race. Find out where they land in the setting, what kind of things and cultures or and themes that the race or the class exist in that setting. There's tons of stuff. There's wikis like Ebron. You can go to keithbaker.com and just go to look up for his Dragon Mark articles, and there's tons of stuff he's written on Ebron that goes way past the what is ever in any of the books. So, and then there's like Forgotten Realms wiki. There's a number of YouTubers that cover Forgotten Realms lore, like Jordan PH is Silent. He does that. AJ Pickett covers lore. Yeah, so utilize your resources, and then just figure out where your character would stand in lore, so get them sucked in, so you can create the backstory that fits. Thunderwolf, use subversion if you're trying to for originality. Maybe your monster hunter is a monster himself. Yep, that's a perfectly good, perfect um a bit of advice on taking a trope and twisting it to make it a little bit more original, um, or taking a character archetype and then and changing it to make it. That's pretty much what the basis of using the trope is, or a character archetype, a character fantasy. But yeah, so back onto setting lore. Um, you have in this day and age we have so much information at the touch of our fingertips that you should be able to find a way to get the information you want. And if not, talk with your DM. I know there's stuff. Good setting books will have that information of where classes, races land in their setting. The Eberron book is really, really good about it. Um, Ravnica was actually really solid, at least when it comes to where certain subclasses land with the guilds. So if you're wanting to play a certain subclass, or class, in Ravnica, in the Ravnica Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica book, there is something that tells you about that. Theros, unfortunately, didn't really land on anything about that. They just had a bunch of information on gods, but didn't really give you a direction of where classes are going. Um, I'm trying to think. Ravenloft didn't do either because Ravenloft's a bit broader of terms of setting. You do kind of whatever you want as long as it fits in the horror theme. Uh, Sword Coast Adventures Guide did they introduced setting specific subclasses for the Sword Coast Adventures Guide. Some of them got reprinted and some were just terrible, but you can use those as kind of like a soft guide to kind of dictate or see where certain character archetypes fit in the Forgotten Realm. That's it's a okay book to do that. Adrian says, I agreed. Using media sources helps with creation process, so you have to piece together. I also always find myself using lore or okay, or how I want to build my character. Yeah, lore is super important. But say you're not playing an established campaign, you're not playing Forgotten Realms, Ravnica, Theros, whatever. Not playing any of those. You guys are playing in a homebrew setting. What? How can I figure out the information to find out what I need to play in my DM's world? Ask your DM. Straight up. Guarantee your DM has overwritten tons of lore to explain why things are the way they are, and they're just waiting to share it. So they will have the answer. And if they don't, that is a perfect opportunity for you and the DM to collaborate on something to fit it into the world. So that, and then at that point, when if you guys are collaborating, create something, your character, your backstory will already be ingrained into the setting and make it more immersive for you. So yeah, so if you especially do talk to your DM, figure out want to play a fighter that's a knight for a kingdom. Find out ask the DM what kind of kingdoms are there, where do knights fit in the society, etc. Yeah, ask them. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy, but guarantee your DM's gonna have stuff. Gonna have a lot of stuff that they wrote that most of it you would probably never see the light of day. All right, and then and then we're gonna go to other tools. Your character backgrounds in the player's handbook, and then in various setting books, they have setting specific backgrounds. This is a perfect tool that is supported mechanically to help generate backstory for your character. It could be the strong basis. Um, so the player's handbook has the standard things. The standard ones, and then the Wildmount book has a couple that are specific to the setting. Ravnica has one for each of the guilds. Let's see, Theros has a couple. Ravnica or Ravenloft has a few too. Strixhaven will probably have some too. So yeah, so utilize those and help you find your. It's the way to find where your character places in the setting. The big thing there are they the backgrounds are such a great tool to help generate your backstory because they immediately give you the things you need to kind of flesh out your character. So one, they give you personality. Normally it's you can roll on the table or choose and they help generate a character's personality. The personality is just your character's way to interact with the world and display their morals and motivations. So so it's just your fun way to do the things you want to do. I personally don't use the personality given to the background. I just use the background for the stats, and then I create my own story with it. But those that are struggling, a background, a person struggling with trying to figure out a personality, um, character background helps. Ideals is your character's moral compass. Um, what is the thing that guides them in terms of D&D? What's their alignment? You don't. This only the alignment thing only really applies to like Forgotten Realms or classic traditional fantasy settings that really rely on it. Stuff like Eberron, Ravnica, any other Magic the Gathering settings, they have their own setting based alignment. The Magic settings have their mana color alignments. They didn't really transition that, but if you play groups of heavy Magic the Gathering fans, they'll know. And Eberron is shades of gray. Nothing's good or bad. Things are achieving their goals based off their own wants and needs. So yeah, so that's what your ideals are. Bonds. This is your character's major motivation. They normally have some really great ones for the character background, but you don't necessarily need to follow them. You just need to know why your character is doing the thing that they want. What is driving them to that? Using the character backgrounds totally helps, and it sets something up that you can pitch to your DM, and they can weave it into. And then there's the flaw. This is the one thing that hinders them on a personal level or a physical level. There's something that they do that is that always prevents them from achieving their goal. Whether it's a personal one, an internal one, or one that potentially could hurt the party. It's pretty much the flaw will help build tension. So that's why character backgrounds are a good tool. They've been with the game since the beginning. Don't shy away from them. And the cool thing about backgrounds is they're perfectly customizable. In the player's handbook, it straight up tells you if you don't like a certain feature or a skill, because a skill or feature that from something else would fit better with your character, you're perfectly fine to change it. I know certain DMs don't want to change anything out of the book, but it says so. Talk with your DM. Say your character is a scout, but they're the military background or the soldier background. They would prefer to have perception. They don't get perception from something else. Talk to your DM and see if you can switch. It just has to be agreed upon. But even though it says in the player's handbook, don't fight about it. They want you to do things a certain way, and familiar with them. Other tools. So now we're going to get into a couple more tools that are kind of outside the base books, but they're kind of overlooked. I'm talking. One is the Heroic Chronicle. This is an explorer's guide to Wildmount. So there's only one official one, and that's in the Wildmount book. And then James Hake developed one for the Short Coast, which you'll find on D&D Beyond. I will link it later in the description. But they go over and help you. They actually take your background, and there's a series of tables that help you use your background to develop and further expand upon it to fit your character into the setting and help you further develop your backstory way more, but to the point where it connects your character either to major events, connects your character to major players in the setting, or certain regions, so that it helps your DM find a place where you would start and why are you at the place in that moment in the campaign. It's pretty much using the character background with the Heroic Chronicle hand in hand is like chef's kiss. It's perfect. It's great. I wish they would develop this more. The Wildmount one is awesome, especially for players that are at a table where there's a lot of Critical Role fans and are playing in the Wildmount setting, but you yourself don't watch Critical Role or don't keep up with it enough to kind of like know everything. That Heroic Chronicle is perfect for the Wildmount book to help you with that. The Sword Coast one, for me, I'm not big on Sword Coast or Faerun. I know Adrian in the chat, he's a big old Sword Coast Faerun R.A. Salvatore, Lord Junkie. So using that, the one developed by James Hake on D&D Beyond, was perfect for people like me that want to have their character a little bit more ingrained to the setting, that don't necessarily know everything about Forgotten Realms. So that helps you, and it wants to actually place your background in. The other tool is from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It's a section called "This Is Your Life." So this section normally gets overlooked along with the index of names, because most people are just flipping through for the subclasses and the spells. So This Is Your Life fully generates a backstory for you. It'll give you everything from how many family members, how old you are, how many life events, and then the kind of life events that happen, pretty much filling out all the blanks to help you generate a backstory. If you use your character background in conjunction with a heroic chronicle, if it's available for this, I'm pretty sure on DM's Guild there may be some for the other settings, and then you get stuff for Xanathar's Guide to Everything, the This Is Your Life section. Pretty much you can randomly generate your entire character backstory. If you say you don't know what to play, you just say, screw it, I'm just gonna literally roll up a character. Using all these tools can help you do that without you having to struggle. Other tools that you can use, there's tons of like character generators online. There's a few of them that actually take all these things, that take those tools in these books and put them as a random generator, and you're good to go. I don't have them on me now. And in the description I will probably link a few more for those. Also, it can just randomly generate, and you literally have to press a button and boom, character set to go. Yeah, they are the tools, my go-to tools for generating a backstory. To great effect from This Is Your Life, we had a player who used this to play in a small little one-shot, and they played a far traveling sorcerer that and he filled in his entire backstory with This Is Your Life, and it was a very interesting and fun character. So yeah, I would consider flipping through Xanathar's Guide and not skip through that section. Don't go straight to the Hexblade Warlock. Stop and go check this Your Life section. Actually, really. Other than that, yeah, that's all my tools and tips. So you guys have any other tools, go ahead and drop them in the chat too. These are the main ones that you have books. These are in your books. These are just tools that you'll find in your books. Setting lore and stuff, they're going to be in your books also. But yeah, you can also find a lot of stuff online. I'm slowly doing videos also myself, kind of going over little bits of lore of like our. I have one for the Goblin. I'm working on one for the Durgar, so that can help give you an idea of where to place your character and what kind of themes you can play. So look out for that one. For the Strixhaven book coming up, excuse me, I have a player's guide to Strixhaven video that you can check out too. That gives you a rundown of the lore for the setting, and then also gives you a better idea of what college is and what class or what subclasses fit. So if you're group is interested in playing Strixhaven, go ahead and check that out. Hopefully that helps you out and kind of figuring out what kind of you want to fit and play into the setting, since Haven subclasses are not coming to print now. Divvied up into spells and feats and character background. So again, thank you guys for that one. So we're gonna jump into the character build challenge, character build of the week. Okay, here we go. So to kind of get us hyped up for Wildly on the Witchlight, I was doing a series. Last week we did a Rankle, which was a fairy from the Magic the Gathering setting of Eldraine. And then Magic the Gathering and Commander Legends set came out with a rabbit wizard named Quain. And so just like I did with the Rankle, I said, hey, take this card and turn it into a character. and you guys delivered right here. So the NPC dropped. He said he used the race lineage rabbit folk, which will also be Haragon in the upcoming book. He went up to level 20, so he's gonna be 9 levels of trickster, 11 levels of illusion wizard, arcane rogue trickster, and 11 levels of illusion wizard. So the relevant spells for his build are gonna be okay, relevant spells, teachers, and traits. He pretty much mass cure wounds. And that's to simulate one each player gaining at least 1 life. Haste because of flavor text at the bottom of the card, and light only. The only thing I can think of for his glowing hands. He went super heavy in on taking the card and trying to recreate it for his character. Awesome. Then the backstory is simple. Quain spent his life mastering his magic by going on adventures. He would travel far and wide, delving dungeons and slaying monsters. He would now spend his retirement in the woods playing tricks on village members. He would do things like challenge people who wandered into the woods to races, and then he would disappear. So he now spends his life as a trickster in the woods. That is super, super cool, super, super fun, and super thematic. I really, really like that. That he utilized the abilities on the card and to turn it and try to make it into something that into a D&D character and have it bits and pieces represented. I really like that. Thank you for submitting that one, NPC. Always enjoy the builds you throw in here. And Robin Yeager got a pretty long one here. I would say that based on the rules text and the art, he need a couple of things. He's definitely a Haragon. A lineage such as maybe the Hexblood don't really work here, as they get rid of any rabbit flavor apart from the appearance. He's 100% wizard. Magic the Gathering has types like cleric, bard, druid, and even warlock, so nothing could really work as a wizard type except, well, a wizard. Sorcerers and MTG are seen as wizards, but none of their subclasses are right for Quain. I was gonna say that he's a blade singer, as it gives more movement and whatnot, but Quain doesn't have a sword or any armor, and his main ability is a divination effect. I'd say that leaves him as a divination wizard, maybe a dip into rogue for cunning action, so he fast. His main class is divination. For feats, I'd say mobile, so he goes faster. Maybe keen mind for pure flavor, or even maybe fade touch and reflavor misty step as him going cartoonishly fast. Also, all his divination could be reflavored as him being so fast that he reacts to events at super. For spells, I'd say to focus on divination, heat, transmutation, like water walk, haste, or time stop at later. I'd flavor most of, if not all, his spells and abilities at him just going absurdly fast, and flavoring spells and abilities used as exertion. I really like this. This is like a time mage turn him into. That's pretty sweet. Another one that fits within the concept of this that Robin put out would be the Chronomancy Wizard. Be perfect for this too. That fits exactly identical to what he attempting to do. Divination and Chronomancy are kind of interchangeable. They kind of hit on the same things from a different angle. But yeah, thank you. I really like this build too. I like how you took the time to think it out and explain the choices, and perfectly. Both of them different and fun builds. You guys consider that takes Quain into a direction. In terms of Haragon, expect a character build for the Haragon in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Because yeah, so expect that. Back to the. All right, and that about does it for today. The Saturday morning was going to be a little bit short today. Yeah, because there's no D&D news. Really, really slow last time. But yeah, if you guys want to submit your answers and stuff for character build challenge, I post those almost I try to get those out every Wednesday. On the I've been posting them again on Instagram. You can find that at instagram.com/dungeoneerspack. You can find them on the community page on YouTube, or you can join the Discord. Again, there's a section for just character building. What's going on, Philip D? Thank you for stopping by. So yeah, so if you want to submit your answers for character build challenge, go ahead and join the Discord, or go to the community member. They normally get posted on Wednesdays, and you can check them out right there. in terms of this week, obviously there was no video this Friday. I'm taking a little 2-week break. I'm still live streams. I enjoy doing them. Just taking a little 2-week break to prevent burnout. There will not be a video next week, Friday, which will be the 10th. But on September 17th, I will be back to posting regularly every Friday. So you can expect to see that. On the 17th, I will be posting a video on the Duragar that I'm hoping to wrap up today. Hoping to wrap up soon, actually. So it's going to be very much in vein of how I covered the goblins. Give you guys a general rundown of the lore, the major themes that the race deals with, and then what kind of classes and stuff pair really well with the themes and the stats of the race. So yeah, I hope you guys are going to enjoy that one. Look out for that one. The Durgar are a super interesting race that is really delved in tragedy and a lot of the stuff with I find dwarves generally a little boring, but they take that dwarf and twist it in a way that I think makes a very potential for a compelling character. I know Adrian's in the chat. He's probably gonna get mad. Dwarves are boring. Dudes that live under the mountain, mining and yeah, the Durgar are very interesting. They have potential to be really great heroes, but some of the lore has some problematic things that could be addressed or just circumvented, and to help you develop a character. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that one. If you guys keep enjoying the race, the look at the race videos, I'm going to continue doing them. I'm doing more of the ones I find more flavorful, taking some of the monster villainous races and show how you can actually make them a hero, not just make pretty much just the bad guy that's just doing stuff. So yeah, so look out for that one. After that, the week of Wild Beyond the Witchlight drop, which will be the 24th, I will be doing a Heracon character build, and then on the 1st of following week, which is the 1st of October, I will be covering the Wild Beyond the Witchlight subclasses. So that's how it's going. If you want to actually see a rundown of what videos are upcoming for pretty much the next 3 months, I actually have a post on the community page on YouTube. You can check that out. I have a bunch of hints. It's still subject to change. Say they come up with a UA or something, but generally that's my monthly, what I'm hoping to hit after you. Okay. Other than that, thank you guys for showing up to this episode of Dungeoneers Pack Live. Next week, I am going to do something a little different. Not necessarily cover a topic. I want to I want to finish developing my subclass, and by the end of the stream, my goal is to have it done out for testing, and hopefully just update it from then on. So next week will be a homebrew development stream, like I used to do on Fridays. We'll still go over news and stuff. We'll still have a character build challenge. We'll still have what we normally do. I just want to do a little something different. That will be, I'll say, subject to change, because maybe they come up with a UA. Maybe something will be crazy that'll come up, but that is the goal right now. I will let you guys know if something changes. All right, so again, you can catch me on my socials, Dungeoneers Pack YT on Facebook, Dungeoneers Pack on Instagram, DPackYT on Twitter, excuse me. If you want to join the community and answer various questions, I'm constantly in contact, active on the Discord. You can find the official Dungeoneers Pack Discord link in the description below. Yeah, if you guys want to continue talking and about this topic or any topic you guys are working on homebrew character builds, there's folks in there, I'm in there, that are willing to help out or just give advice, or just talk about D in there. To support the channel directly, you can go to Dungeoneers Pack on Patreon and become a Dungeoneer there, or right here on YouTube. I'm a Dungeoneer. Both have $4 you can do it, or various other tiers. You get access to a bunch of fun stuff I'm doing, trying to give Patreon and membership supporters, and then you get access to emotes. Get some fun emotes so you guys can get access to if you become supporters here or members, Dungeoneers on there you can get access to stuff like that. But it is not necessary. The best way to actually support the channel, the most that helps out a lot, is just to like, comment, subscribe on every video. That helps generate and get into the YouTube algorithm, that people can actually see the channel grow. So again, thank you guys for the continued support that are here, that have been supporting the channel. That really means a lot to me. I'm gonna get through this little break and then hopefully get back onto the agenda and just start posting videos. If you haven't seen last video, the character Bard video is still out there. Becoming a turning the Bard into a field commander. Go more martial, go more military. Lead your team to victory. And thank you guys. So next week, most likely it's gonna be a homebrew development subclass. And if not, then I'll notify you guys for that. Then you guys take care, and then you guys have a good one.